is 2 fresh leaves will make how much dried powder? Will and Misty, you need to pay attention to this video and get some of this growing on your place. Collect some leaves when you're trying to figure this kind of thing out. You want some leaves that's going to be at about the same size. So here I've got one leaf that's about 31 inches long, as you see there with the measure. And then we'll look at the second leaf in just a moment, and it is about 25 inches long. I always try to wash the leaves pretty good. They're a little bit fuzzy, and being that way, they tend to collect dust and dirt. Now I'm going to remove that rib, and we will dehydrate it separately because it's pretty hard to dehydrate. It's much thicker than a leaf. And so here's the comfrey leaf part. I've chopped it up maybe about 1-inch squares. We're not worried about getting it too small. We're going to crumble it once we dehydrate it. And even though it doesn't look like an awful lot, it actually will be quite a bit when we get done. I'm slicing the rib or the stem part on a very shallow and long slice in order to create very thin slices. I will put the sliced stem or rib parts on a separate screen dehydrating tray. We'll dehydrate them separately. Now I'm going to place another of the dehydrated screens over the top of that, because once it starts to dry out, the fan inside the dehydrator has a tendency to blow these little pieces around, and actually they wind up down inside the dehydrator and not on the screen. I'm going to dehydrate outside. It's not too hot today, but I don't want to heat up the house, so it's easier to do it outside. And remember, we're dehydrating an herb, so we don't want the temperature to be too high. I'm going to set it at 95 degrees. All right, so here we are. We've got the leaves dehydrated, brought them in the house, and we're getting ready to crumble them up into very small leaf particles. I'm going to begin to crush the leaves with my fingers, and then when I get them down to a little bit smaller size, I'm going to put them into a coffee grinder and reduce them on down to fine particle leaf. This is the dehydrated stem or the rib portion of the leaf. So I'm going to run it through the coffee grinder first. Now I'm going to run the leaf particles in the coffee grinder and reduce those down not quite to a powder, but almost. Now we will combine the powder that we made from the rib portion of the leaf with the leaf itself, which is the dark green one, because they're all the same thing. Now I'm going to measure to see how much dried powder we got here. Of course, I'm using a tablespoon, and so there is 1 tablespoon. So our measurements, I'm using a tablespoon, remember, our measurements show that we have produced 2 tablespoons of comfrey powder or leaf particle from 2 large leaves of comfrey themselves. I previously made a poultice using 2 fresh comfrey leaves, and so now I can make a poultice of the same equivalency using 2 tablespoons of dried comfrey leaf particle and powder.